For centuries, the story of Noah has been retold through a Eurocentric lens, purposefully distorting both biblical and historical truths. Western depictions of Noah have consistently portrayed him as white, reinforcing the idea that Old Testament biblical figures were of European descent. However, this narrative is flatly and universally false when examined closely through both the Bible and science. In this chapter, we will explore the evidence that proves that Noah and all three of his sons, his grandchildren and many generations thereafter, the progenitors of humanity after the flood, were all black. The Bible itself, when read in its proper historical context, provides clear evidence that Noah and all of the key figures of the Old Testament were black during most, if not all, of the Old Testament, and today Jesus would be classified as black in the New Testament. Furthermore, scientific research into human origins overwhelmingly supports the conclusion that early humans, including those living in the regions where biblical events took place, were African. This video will also provide a more realistic scientific basis for how other races came into being, and how Eurocentrism has erased and reinterpreted this reality through their version of theoretical science. The Bible's silence on skin color is not an omission. The Bible did not make a mistake. Rather, the omission was done on purpose. During the time of the Old Testament, the audience the Bible was originally written for was black people, the only people that populated the world at the time. So no need to mention skin color. During the creation of the world, all people were black. Adam and Eve, as the first humans, were black, and their descendants continued this African lineage for thousands of years to come. The omission of skin color was distorted by Europeans about 2,000 years ago after the death of Jesus Christ and at the spread of modern Christianity to Gentiles in Europe and through the spread of modern Islam to what is now known as the Middle East or East Asia. These distortions took place after European and Arab domination of Africa to support colonization, to justify the transatlantic and Arab slave trades and to support white supremacy. Eurocentric interpretations have historically redefined biblical figures like Noah as white to align with European racial biases. This reinterpretation has been used to support racial hierarchies, colonialism, and slavery, distorting the true racial identity of biblical characters. By depicting biblical figures as white, Eurocentrism almost universally removed Africans from the Bible and minimized their significance to a few key places such as Egypt and Ethiopia, literally stealing the black identity and biblical history. Some Europeans aren't the only ones guilty of this. Some modern Middle Easterners living in Egypt do the same, usurping the African identity of ancient Egyptians. This intentional distortion has purposefully influenced global misinformation. It has spread false teachings about biblical events and African achievements. It has painted black people as irrelevant in the world and helps to justify their continued subjugation. Biblical texts as well as scientific evidence support the view that Adam and Eve were, in fact, black. The association of the biblical Garden of Eden in Africa aligns with the scientific understanding of the African origins of humanity. Adam and Eve's black identity continued through Noah and through his descendants for thousands of additional years. To learn more about the biblical and scientific interpretation of Adam and Eve's African lineage, please watch this video entitled, "Is Africa the True Eden of the Bible?" This video juxtaposes God's Word, which is 100% truth, against man's science, which is mostly theory and largely taken from the Bible. If you like learning true interpretations of the Bible and history, African or otherwise, please subscribe. Let's continue. Noah, his wife, and their three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, were all black. The Bible does not assign racial categories to Noah's sons because the Bible explicitly was talking about the only people populating the earth at the time: black people. The portrayal of Noah's family in different racial categories is a product of Eurocentric reinterpretation. The idea that Noah's sons and wives were the parents of Africans, Asians and Caucasians all at once through Noah's wife is not only biologically implausible, but genetically impossible. It is also important to know that Europeans after the death of Christ also began spreading misinformation about Africans, saying that God had cursed Africa, falsely usurping the African identity by assigning Africans only to Ham, and then stating falsely that God cursed Ham, which would eventually be known in the Bible as Egypt. Once again, this is false. The scriptures is clear that God cursed Canaan, which would have been Noah's grandson. The curse of Ham has been misinterpreted to justify racial hatred of black people for several centuries. Once again, Noah, his wife, all of his sons, daughter-in-laws, grandchildren and future generations for thousands of years thereafter was black. Modern European science, or Western science, theorizes that humans evolved from apes or animal primates. This is ridiculously and patently false. Africans that are 100% African and have never interbred with Africans or other non-African people with Neanderthal DNA are the only people that are fully human on the earth. They did not evolve from apes or any other animal primate. Once again, a European myth. An ape cannot evolve into another animal species such as a lion, any more than a lion can evolve into an elephant. This has never occurred in the history of our world and is genetically impossible, unless the species are crossbred. This is no different from humans and apes or other primates. It is a known scientific fact that Caucasians and other races have an average of 2%, more or less, Neanderthal DNA. The concept of evolution of modern races, primarily defined by the difference of skin color, eyes and hair, is more plausibly explained by Africans interbreeding with Neanderthals or other subhuman species, not through evolution. It is clear that the only thing that separates the races is primarily driven by melanin, the genetic material that drives skin color, eye color, and defines elements of hair genetics. Africans have the highest concentration of melanin. Other races have lesser quantities. An African can live in cold climates, and it does not change its melanin content. African skin color, eye color, and hair will remain the same and vice versa, changing from one species to another. This is quack science. The transformation of black Africans into other racial and ethnic identities most likely involved migration throughout the world, meeting and eventually interbreeding with other human-like species, thereby genetically changing its offspring, with the process continuing among Africans and their offspring, marrying other interbred offspring. These processes most likely contributed to the diversity of ethnicities and physical characteristics seen today because of melanin variations. The European theory of evolution is not supported by the Bible, and it is biologically and genetically impossible. However, the theory postulated here is more scientifically plausible and aligns with God's word, which we take as true. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about realistic interpretations of the Bible, African and African American history, news, politics, and more, help us out by subscribing and liking the video. It helps us inform the world of the truths of Africa and its diaspora.